Well, I don't think I've ever been introduced to at a conference as a bad man before, but I'll take that as a white bad man. I'll take that as a compliment. I'm just going to make a note and put that on my CV when I get back. Thank you for inviting me here. I was asked to talk about the impact of the research that the University of Leicester does. And then I was told the amount of time that I had in which to do it. And I thought as a result of that, I would try and compress a small number of examples into these three areas, talking about culture, cultural impacts, talking about well-being and safety, and talking about skills and employability as well. What I don't want to do is talk about education per se. This is really about how the research that we do in the university translates into the lives of you all, possibly without you knowing it, here at Leicester. Now, I'm going to start, he says, unfortunately with Richard III. You can't really invite me to an event like this without me talking about Richard III. Obviously, Richard III was a huge cultural impact. It was an economic impact as well. And actually, you've all seen pictures of the coffin, you've all seen pictures of Sophie going to the cathedral, and some guy called Benedict, apparently, he turned up as well. But I actually like these pictures. I actually took one of these pictures myself. I took one the night that we had the fireworks. And these were people. Because to me, although I had the privilege of being involved in the project directly, what struck us all on the project was how this really touched the people of Leicester, and it showed no more than during that absolutely magical week. So this is actually about how everyday research can actually have an impact, not just on all of these people here, but of course on Leicester City Football Club, who haven't actually lost a game since. To give you perhaps a little bit more down-to-earth example, how many of you here have heard of the Letterbox Club? Anybody heard of the Letterbox Club? You can see a few hands up there. You don't just have to put your hand up, Jeff, just because we work together. Letterbox Club was started in Leicester, and was originally trialled here. The idea, and Rose Griffiths, who's on the screen there, it was her idea, her innovation, was to send books, stationery, and other learning materials to children in care. They actually received a package. And you might want to say, well, in the digital age, why does that matter? You know, they can get all this on the internet or whatever. To them, physically getting a parcel addressed to them meant something. Not only is it a tangible thing, it's a matter of recognition. And that started literally with a couple of dozen children in care in Leicester. When the mailing starts next month, it will go out to over 16,000 children in care across England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. A remarkable achievement. And it's also going to start later this year in Sweden and Denmark, and is also going to be trialled in Canada. So just a small initiative that started as a Leicester initiative has affected thousands of deprived children and has now gone global. Let's talk about well-being. Diabetes is a Leicester problem. We know it's a global problem, but Leicester is almost the epicenter of diabetes in the UK. Proportionally, more people suffer diabetes in this city than virtually anywhere else in Europe. Now, we do a lot of medical research at the University of Leicester. I could have picked out hundreds of examples, but I picked out this just because, of course, it is so important to this city and to this county. The Diabetes Research Centre not only work in terms of finding cures and treatments for diabetics, but also, importantly, have put an awful lot of work into preventative issues around diabetics in terms of literally fitness, diet, and all the things that you can actually do in order to help yourself to avoid diabetes in the first place. And it's been incredibly important, again, in terms of helping thousands of people in the city and in the county. You might recognize one, if not both of these people here. One of them is the real Alec Jeffreys, and the other one is an actor who played Professor Sir Alec Jeffreys in a two-part drama which was shown over Easter, The Code of the Killer. Some of you may have seen it. Hands up, who saw Code of the Killer? Don't worry, you can catch it on replay. Go home tonight, download it. It really is well worth watching. It's actually a fascinating drama based, as they say, on a true story. It's based on the research of Sir Alec Jeffreys. DNA fingerprinting was invented, if that's the right word, by this man, absolute lovely man, here in Leicester at the university 30 years ago. Code of the Killer is based on how DNA was first used in two local murder cases. Two teenage girls were raped and left for dead in the Narborough area. And the police inspector who was running it had literally read an article in the Leicester Mercury saying how Professor Alec Jeffreys had had this new technique of identifying people. And he, to his credit, had the idea of going to the university, seeking Alec out and saying, can you help in this case? That was a pioneer case, and it actually led to the conviction of the killer. Since then, think of the thousands of crimes that have either been prevented or solved worldwide as a result of DNA. And it's not just about crimes, it's also about all sorts of issues to do with paternity cases. It's led to all kinds of other revolutions in the way in which we think and use genetics in health and well-being. And that is a Leicester discovery. Lastly, I'm going to talk about the economy. We've heard quite rightly how important FE colleges are to the economy. Universities also have their place in the economy. Directly, we contribute getting on for £200 million a year to the city and the region economy. That's simply because of the wages that we pay to people, the money that students spend when they spend their time here, and so on and so forth. But what I'm talking about here in terms of research and enterprise and innovation is an indirect contribution to the economy, to job creation, to skills. And again, I could give several examples. We have, as you know, in this city, the National Space Centre. If you haven't been to the National Space Centre, again, I thoroughly recommend it. It is an amazing place to go and spend a few hours. It's not just for school children, believe me. It's the sort of thing that most people can get some fascination and enjoyment out. Well worth the trip out to go and see it. Now, the National Space Centre is here in Leicester not by chance. It's here because Leicester University has a long tradition, over 40 years, of working on space research. One of the things that Leicester should be proud of is that there's hardly been a space mission in the last 40 years that hasn't included a bit of instrumentation that was either designed or made and manufactured here in Leicester due to the link of the Space Research Centre at the University of Leicester. Space research, of course, isn't all about discovering new planets, Hubble telescope, looking into the past through astronomy and all of that. Space research has had huge, as they call, downstream technology. Who's got a mobile phone? That's space technology. You all rely on space technology for your mobile phones. You rely on space technology for no end of not just computational things, but also navigation systems within your cars, all sorts of safety systems in your cars, many of which were first pioneered and developed for space exploration. Now, the picture I've got up here is actually nothing to do with space. This is something that came out of our engineering department. If I clicked on that, you would go into a video which would explain what it's all about. But there isn't an internet connection here, so you're going to have to just bear with me while I describe what it's about instead. This is all about vibration testing. Now, a lot of things that we buy have moving parts. I've mentioned cars already. They are actually one of the key industries that have to vibration test their products. Now, the traditional way of doing this is that you get your car, you put it on a kind of ramp thing, and you shake it about an awful lot. And you have monitors all over the car, and you measure stress. We all get stressed if we get shaken about. Cars get stressed if they get shaken about. Of course, if you're in a car traveling at 90 miles, of course, none of you go at 90 miles now, I'm quite sure. You all go at 69 miles per hour maximum. But if you were to go, say, at a high speed down one of our motorways, chances of doing 70 miles an hour down the M1 are actually fairly slim these days, as you well know. But if you were traveling at a great speed, the car is actually shaking around an awful lot. That puts it under stress. It means that something might fall off. Now, we don't like that to happen to our cars. We don't like that to happen to our trains. We don't like that to happen to our aeroplanes. And that's why everything like that is vibration tested. Now, as I said, the traditional way is to physically shake it and put sensors on it. What this is doing, and this is a project that came out of the engineering department. It's based actually not here in the city for pragmatic reasons. We actually located this as we opened up a new centre at Myra in Hinckley at the Motor Industry Research Association, obviously because they are our key customers. And this uses laser technology where you don't have to shake anything. All you have to do is point a laser at it, and it will tell you, if it were to be vibrated, what the stress levels would be. What that means is much quicker turnaround times for the industry, much more robust and high-level data, and also cheaper. So this is a service that we're opening up to the automotive industry, the aero industry, all sorts of areas of manufacturing. It's about creating jobs, and partly through this, we're also now working with Myra to develop skills there as well, not just around vibration testing, but working with MIRA to provide apprenticeship type courses together with another FE college, the Northwest Hinckley College. And that's just an example of how our research has led not just to the creation of jobs, the creation of wealth, but also as a spin-off, skills creation as well. And I've just seen my time's up, so I'm going to stop there. Thank you very much indeed.